Hey guys, here we are again. We are continuing our voyage through the plant kingdom. Today we're going to look at plant reproduction, how plants fertilize, have offspring, all that good stuff. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at reproduction of flowering plants. All right, because that's the main ones who do reproduction. And it takes place inside the flower. The flower is all the reproductive organs of that plant. All right. Flowers contain both male and female reproductive parts. All right. So if we're looking at the picture here, we have sepals and petals. The sepals are down here at the bottom. Those are the outermost layer. They're what the leaves that protect the flower before it blooms, while it's growing, keeps it safe. Right? The petals are there for one reason. Petals are there to attract insects and animals. All right, they are there, brightly colored, attractive, so that organisms can see the flower and are drawn to the flower. All right, so that's looking at our outermost parts. That starts the whole process. Have to have a pollinator, have to have something that's going to come through and move the pollen from flower to flower. That's what starts the whole reproductive process. All right, so if we are going to look at the male structures first. So inside that flower, you see here we've got all these little orangish reddish colored things here. We call those anthers. And then they're attached to this long tube called the filament. Together, these are called a stamen. All right, and it's pretty easy to remember. Male reproductive part, stamen. All right, so we've got it pretty easy to remember there. That anther up there is where the pollen is. All that pollen is on that. That's what the male reproductive cell of the flower. It's the sperm of the flower. All right, so right now, we got a lot of pollination going on outside. You look at any pine tree and they are covered with these little yellow pods. All those yellow pods contain all the pollen for that tree. It's why your cars turn yellow. It's why you see yellow all over the ground. You see yellow in water, that's standing water. That's all the pollen coming off those trees. That's the sperm of the tree. All right. It's also the thing that makes our allergies go crazy, makes our nose run, gives us the, allergy attacks. You breathing in that male reproductive cell, that sperm of that tree, is what makes you have an allergy attack. All right, so that's the male. Let's look at the female portion now. So if we go into the very center of that flower, you see that long tube right there. That long tube is connected to the ovary down here at the bottom, just like in a female human. The reproductive part, the ovary. All right, it's where the eggs are. Same for the flower. The ovary's down here inside this flower. It's where the eggs are. At the top, we have a stigma. We call it the sticky stigma. All right, it's sticky. It's got nectar on it. It's what attracts, gets the insects once they get pollen on them to go and touch that part, because that's where the sperm cell, the pollen, has to be to get down into that ovary. All right, the long tube that connects it is called the style, and the whole thing in the female reproductive part is called the pistil. All right, females are pistils. So, looking at the whole thing here, process of pollination. So we got our pollen grain here at the top that came off of that anther. Bees or other insects get it stuck to them. Wind blows them. Water washes them. They get stuck to the sticky stigma, and they travel down into the ovary, where they combine with one of those eggs in there, one of those ovules, and that's what's going to form a new plant. Okay, that ovule can do two things. First of all, it's going to turn into a seed. That seed is going to be made, and if you look at this picture, we got 6 different ovules. It means this plant can produce 6 different seeds. All right, this one flower. So if you look at, say, a peach tree, peach trees got flowers all over them right now. Each of those flowers is going to get pollinated. It's going to produce those seeds. Those seeds are going to be housed inside of something, and we're going to find that out in just a minute. But first, we need to look at those seeds. All right. Flowering plants do a double pollination, double fertilization process. Means that it takes 2 sperm cells to mix with that ovule to make that seed. One of the sperm cells fertilizes the egg, all right, forms the embryo. That's what one of them does. The other one unites with that nucleus that's in there and forms what we call an endosperm. The endosperm is the food pocket for this developing seed as it grows. Okay, so angiosperms, we talked about those, produce both a zygote and an endosperm, like you see here in the picture. Gymnosperms, they only produce a zygote. They don't need that extra portion, that extra chunk of food supply for their embryos. All right. Now, the big key is each of those flowers is going to turn into a group of seeds. Okay, those seeds start to develop. If you notice here on this tomato plant, these tomatoes, these 6 different tomatoes, used to be the flower. Now it's turned into a fruit. Okay, the seed is housed inside that fruit. So, if you want to think about it, you eat a tomato, you eat an apple, you eat an orange. Any of these things, these fruits that you eat, you are eating the ovary of that plant. All right, so things that we don't normally think about. Breathing in the plant sperm makes us sick, gives us that allergic reaction. And then when we sit down to eat a piece of fruit, we're actually eating the plant's ovary. Okay. Last thing for the day is vegetative propagation. All right, this is a different type of reproduction. It doesn't use a seed. All right, the plant is going to send off a shoot of itself, almost like one of these branches here, and it's going to get into the ground. The shoot goes into the ground. The soil holds it there, and that shoot turns into a new plant. All right, these are your vine plants, kind of like berry vines, or could be grapevines. This is how they work. They spread out and they send out their shoots, and a whole new plant will pop up wherever that shoot happens to get into the soil, get nutrients it needs, get water. It turns into a new plant. Okay, so looked at reproduction today. Remember, if you have any questions, you can post them on the discussions. You can send me an email, all right, or I will be available every morning from 8:30 to 9. I will start a conference. All right. See y'all tomorrow.